My dudes, what's happening, man? This is Trent, and today I want to talk to you about your plan. What's your plan, man? Because everybody knows that dude or that girl that they know who's like, I'm just drawing, and I'm waiting for my art career to take off. I'm waiting for it to take off. Well, what are they doing to help it take off? You know, having passion is essential, but you got to remember, if you're getting into a competitive field, your competition is using precise tactical strikes, man. You got to have a solid plan together to make sure that you're a success with whatever it is that you're aiming for, whether it's making books, making art books, making a successful YouTube channel, or getting a job at that AAA game studio you really want to work at. And I think this applies to writers and musicians as well, anybody in a competitive creative field. I'm going to tell you a story. About a musician I know. And this guy, his whole life, he's kind of been like, well, I'm still waiting for my music career to take off. I'm still trying to write that song. I want to write that big hit song that makes me lots of money. That I can finally do all that stuff that I always dreamed of because I'll have all the love and approval and admiration of all these other people. But the problem was when this person was finally presented with the opportunity to make a song for a video game, for instance, he's like, I don't know how to record it onto digital. And so the question is, how was your music career going to take off if you didn't prepare anything to know how to actually do the thing? Like, did you hope that somebody would just like hear it and then think like, oh, we'll just teach him or put him in a studio and like take care of all those problems for it because he's so talented? This never happens anymore. That is not the real world. That is a fantasy world, and you'd be better served just buying lottery tickets and hoping that something amazing would happen. And amazing random shit does happen. That happens. But would you bank on that? You only get one life, man. And before I dig into this, I'm going to preface this by saying, I'm not saying you're supposed to have goals. I'm not going to tell you what you should want or what your goals should be. If you're just like, hey, I just like to doodle and I don't really care where that goes, that's awesome. Do that thing. In fact, that's probably really healthy for your spiritual self. But if you have a dream and a goal, but you're passively waiting for it to happen, that's who I want to talk to. So scooch on in here, get a little closer, because I'm going to let you in on a little bit of info. And I mean this out of love, by the way. I wouldn't talk about this if I didn't care. If you have yourself an art career dream, I want to ask you a question. What are you doing? Do you have a plan in place to accomplish your art career goals, whatever they may be? If it's music, or whether it's art or concept art or illustration, or you're making a comic book. If you're making a comic book, show me pages, show me a story, show me what you can actually do. Do that job to completion. Show me what you got, man.
Show me what you got.
If you're a musician, you have to have recorded tracks that you're showing to people on the internet. You have to have albums out. If you're a musician, you absolutely have to have an album out if you're going to make it. Or a YouTube channel or a SoundCloud channel where you're constantly uploading and constantly getting your music, your completed songs, into the hands of people to listen to it. If you're sitting in your room and you're recording, that's great. But if you don't ever put it up online, then nobody ever sees it. But if you are an artist, let's say that you're an artist and you are making comic books, you absolutely have to have your comic books online and available for people to read, whether it's for free or whether it's something that you charge for. It absolutely has to be in a sort of completed state, something that people can actually see and evaluate and then give you feedback on or decide, I like this or I don't like this. The reason to do the craft has to be more than just the dream that people will someday love you for it, because you could just as easily fall in love with the idea of being the rock star on stage, but not fall in love with the idea of actually going to band practice and being there for the rest of your band and doing the hard work, like writing new songs and recording them and learning new tools and learning new equipment so that you can actually develop that skill and put those songs out into people's hands. Nobody's going to solve those problems for you. And that's like the difference between somebody who's in love with the glamour and the glory of the idea of succeeding at their craft and somebody who actually enjoys the craft itself. Don't fall into that trap, man. No one's going to read your genius idea and go, oh, we'll just make that for you. Now, I know a lot of you dudes are already really savvy. I mean, I read the comments, man. I know a lot of you guys can totally disregard this, but I also get a lot of comments from people who really don't know. And if your art plan, if your career plan is to just do cool paintings and kind of tuck them away in your art station and never really apply anywhere or never really go to game developer conferences or meet other developers or get involved in communities or actually do anything that's applicable to game development other than do cool, pretty paintings, that's not really an art career plan at all. That's just a pipe dream. If you don't have a portfolio and you're not actively sending it to companies you want to work for and collecting feedback from other game developers or whatever industry it is that you're applying to that you want to work in, well then, I don't know what to tell you, but your art dream's a pipe dream. It's sort of like the guy who wants to write novels, but he's just got a bunch of like notes written in like a loose leaf notebook. It's like, that's not a novel and that's not writing. You're not going to get a book deal from a bunch of notes with a bunch of random scattered ideas in them. There's no way that they're going to seek you out. Do you know what your competition is doing? Your competition is putting full completed stuff in their hands saying, I want to do this for you. I will do all of your job for you. Those are the guys who are getting publishing deals. Those are the guys who are getting jobs in concept art. They're constantly updating their portfolio with useful concept designs. So the business guy can look at it and go, oh, this is already going to make money. I'm not going to have to teach this guy or hold his hand, or this girl, I'm not going to have to show her how to do anything. They already get it. They're already making product that I can sell. I just need to put my company's label on it and put it in front of my audience because they already have the audience. That's why we want to go work for them, right? I promised you guys some cold hard truths here today. So let me just polish up my sledgehammer here. We'll knock that sugar coating clean the fuck off. If you want to go work for those Blizzards and those Riots and those Sonys and those, like, you want to work on the big hitters, the biggest game companies in the world, it doesn't matter where you're from. All that matters is that they can immediately make lots of money off of you. They hire the people that they just can plug into their team that already know how to do awesome art, awesome concept art, awesome video game art. They don't need to teach you anything. You already get it. So if your portfolio shows that, then you're going to get that job. So work on your portfolio, develop your conceptual design skills for the studios that you want to work for, put it out there, collect feedback from pros, from people who've worked on those types of projects, refine it, and then keep updating it, and then keep sending that portfolio to those potential jobs. And if you don't get that job, I guarantee you there are smaller companies who are trying to do what they're doing who will want to hire you if you're getting even close to the mark. And so you have to be putting your work out there in their hands. That means going to their job site, looking for job listings. There are websites like Glassdoor that are always posting jobs. These various companies constantly post these jobs there. Back when I was job hunting, I was on there all the time. I was on these websites looking for job listings at Bethesda, Epic Games, Valve. They never really advertised jobs, especially if you want to get in at one of these major companies. They are not going to seek you out. And your art career goals don't have to be something that I tell you. You don't have to want those big company jobs. I don't even think that you should pursue them, but a lot of people want them. But if that's what you're aiming for, it's like, do you have a plan of how to improve your talent? Are you taking certain courses? Are you learning from tutorials created by people who worked at those companies? Are you, because there's Gumroad and there's YouTube now, and a lot of these artists that are working at those companies have these social media platforms and they're teaching. You can learn from them and you can understand how to be a contributing artist to the team from a person who already works on that team. That's amazing. Let's say that your goals are to be independent. What's your plan of action for being independent? Do you have a social media account? Are you building an audience? Are you keeping that audience happy? Pay attention to what your plan is. Like, define what your goal is, then set out your plan, and then refine that plan every day. And eventually you'll find that you're closer than you've ever been to your goal. I want to recommend a book to you. This is called The Compound Effect. I've been listening to it a lot when I go to the gym, and it's all about that. It's not about the big wins. It's not about some big windfall success that happens to you because of some lottery luck thing. Real success comes from people who do small things repeatedly over time to work towards a goal. And the compound effect is always in effect, whether or not you're aware of it or not. A lot of things you're doing right now might be working against your goals, such as How much time are you spending in chat rooms and mingling with friends online if you're not making art? If you're not making art and your goal is to make art, then during that period of time, you are working against your goal. The compound effect is working against your goal. If your goal is to build a following on your social media account, what are you actively doing? Are you paying attention to what your competition is doing? What is this other successful person that I'm modeling my stuff after? What are they doing that I'm not doing? I can incorporate that into my plan to get closer to reaching my goals. I did this about 7 years ago. I did a complete, I left Blizzard and I started a whole new routine and I was working out my goals and my path and what I wanted to accomplish. And some of those goals, I'd say 90% of them I've accomplished and I've started new goals. And the ones that I didn't accomplish, they just weren't as important enough to me. So define your goals, define the thing you want the most out of your life, and act on those things. Formulate a plan based on those goals using models of other people who've done those successes in the past, and then adapt as you progress. I've said it before, man. If you don't define your goals, if you don't define what you want out of your career, then somebody else will define it for you. And that might have nothing to do with art. And look out for those things that are a distraction. Look out for those things that are pulling you away from where you want to be going. Man, every now and then I do one of these videos and it's just super intense. I think in my next video I'll just eat some jelly beans again or something. And we could talk about Zelda. So if your dream is to do concept art, that's what I've done for years. And I recently made a stylized facility concept art workshop. And that walks you through everything that you would get in terms of how to handle a task that you would get at a game studio. How do you approach it? Do you use some geometry? How do you pull up the right reference? What angles to choose? How do you convey the idea? How much is expected of you? How many iterations you got to, all that fun stuff that you got to learn about the actual job of doing concept art for games. I've done that in this workshop. You actually get some homework, so you actually get some tasks for you to work on in there, applicable tasks, and some tips on how to accomplish the task. And one of my goals is to do art books. I love doing concept art and I love building worlds, and I recently released The World of Twilight Monk. And this is a collection of concept art and illustrations and backstory for characters for the novels that I'm writing. And I would love to share that with you. I'm not going to sit by and wait for somebody else to publish this for me. I'm going to do it myself. My dreams are not pipe dreams. You know what I'm saying? So dudes, that's it for me on this one. I want to thank you so much for stopping by. It really does mean a lot to me that I get such positive comments below. And if you have something you'd like to know about in a future video, please drop that down there. And dudes, I will catch y'all manyan bon and ciao, baby. Oh, yeah. And I mean that in the way a wrestler says it, but not in the way that a creepy guy who's catcalling would say that. Do you know what I'm saying?